Chapter 4. Turning Danger into Safety. The Xuanwu golden armor contains endless supreme breath. This is subjected to how cruel defilement will make the supreme breath disappear. It was refined into a magic treasure. Roar. Mao Chen let out a long roar up to the sky. Boom ka 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 ka. Countless electric flashes and thunderous explosions rose up in a terrifying heavenly phase, causing countless people of the 9-5 Islands to reveal a look of horror. The Imperial Palace was not far from the shopping center. The commander of the Brocade Guards, Meng Tai, was interrogating a group of corrupt officials in the middle of a compound in the shopping center. The head official spat out a mouthful of blood, still glaring and roaring. Cronyism, selling officials and selling titles, swallowing disaster food, trapped in the suffering of the victims in spite of, enriching their own pockets, false publicity and self-interest, caused the more victims of 800 starved to death. Meng Tai's eyes were cold. "You, what do you want?" the official glared. Meng Tai coldly said, "I'm under orders to investigate the case. I have the right to decapitate first, behead it." "Yes." After saying that, Meng Tai twisted his head and walked out of the small courtyard. That official was staring with wide eyes full of horror. "Leave no one alive," chopping off the grass and removing the roots. "No, no, don't," that official roared in terror. Meng Tai gave an order, and the Brocade Guards moved quickly. Around them, some of the officials who weren't being investigated were jolted. This was the Jinyi way that exterminated all. Wherever they went, blood flowed into the river. Meng Tai twisted his head and looked. Those watching officials steeped a jolt, lowered their heads and quickly walked away. After going back, a group of officials immediately wrote a letter to pass upwards, ready to provoke the group of officials in the court on the impeachment of the Brocade Guards. But what is the use of impeachment? Gu Hai set up the Jinyi way to monitor the world. Moreover, nowadays, Gu Hai is the only one to decide. Gu Hai does not care. Who can withstand Jinyi way what? Meng Tai long breath. This life and death power in the hands of the feeling. Indeed comfortable. Just this great Han dynasty can really be comparable to the divine continent's great dynasties. Boom. Steeply, the sky was covered in dark clouds, and lightning flashed and thunder roared. Meng Tai's face changed as he looked up. However, he saw that countless thunderbolts were converging towards the direction of the Great Han Palace, and the lightning and thunder were also shaking violently in general. Who is this? Such a great aura. Meng Tai's face changed. Who? Meng Tai rushed up into the sky and flew towards the direction of the palace. The emperor had only opened the country, and he had set up such a big enemy. This is the aura of a strong person at the level of the heaven opening palace. The great Han dynasty won't be gone like this, right? Meng Tai's eyelids fluttered furiously. The sky was covered in dark clouds. The place of the great Han palace was even more remarkable. The group of cultivators at the Royal Casino Resort all changed their faces. This is a monstrous aura. Separated from so far, can feel that terrifying to the extreme breath. Shangguan Trace residence. Quite a large Xuanwu golden armor. At this moment has been Shangguan Trace sliced and eaten to the last piece. Elegantly, he forked up the last piece of Xuanwu golden armor and put it into his mouth. Standing up, he leveled his clothes and slowly walked out of the house. Boom. It's gone. It's gone. The aura of the supreme golden armor. Gone. Mu Chen's face turned more and more hideous. And at this moment, the mouth of the punching heaven palace. All the civil and military personnel of the dynasty had rushed here, and each one of them had a horrified look on their faces. Du Qin is also full of anxiety. Got to watch the chess old man's inheritance, naturally understand the strength of the powerful under this raging breath. This strength, his own formation can still block it. Father, could this be a trap left by Li Shenji? Gu Qin worriedly said. Gu Hai nodded. It should be the Zhuan golden armor that attracted it. What a sinister Li Shenji. This person, he's a strong person from the heaven-opening palace. I'm worried that the formation won't be able to stop it. Ancient Qin's face showed an ugly expression. Zhuan golden armor. Where is Zhuan golden armor? Opposite Mu Chen, letting out a steep roar. Boom. Under a roar, it seemed as if a storm was formed, sweeping towards the Great Han Palace, and as the storm passed by, a host of mountains, forests, earth and rocks were all lifted up in general. Thus, the Great Han Imperial Palace steeply emerged from a rolling cloud formation, blocking this powerful storm. Boom, boom, boom. Shut up. Gu Hai let out a cold shout. Huh, Gu Qin said blankly. The Zhuan golden armor already belongs to Shangguan Scar. You shall not make decisions for Shangguan Scar, Gu Hai said in a deep voice. Yes, Gu Qin nodded. However, his face was still anxious. The ministers were at a loss at the moment. I, the Lord of the Great Han Dynasty. Gu Hai, who is your excellency, trespassing on my Great Han? Gu Hai spoke in a deep voice. Imperial Dynasty. Bullshit Imperial Dynasty. Not even lucky. Still Imperial Dynasty. The Zhuan golden armor is in your hands. Immediately return it to me. Otherwise, this Great Han Dynasty of yours is like this place. Mao Chen let out a cold snort. As he spoke, a foot violently stepped towards the ground. Boom. A gigantic foot astral suddenly appeared and crushed down on top of the earth with a roar. Above the earth, a large mountain was instantly flattened, while a huge, bottomless pit was stepped out, with rolling water surging towards the interior. The large pit was 1,000 feet wide, and the countless people who watched it revealed horrified colors. A crowd of officials showed horror. What can we do about this, Your Majesty? The group of cultivators at the resort were also creeped out. This kick, was it going to step through the 9-5 islands? In the distance, Meng Tai's eyelids also fluttered furiously up at the demonic godlike Mao Chen that he saw from a long distance away. Where did this pervert come from? Meng Tai said in horror. 1 foot down. The dynasty was filled with shock. Only Gu Hai's face did not change. The king of a country, an example for the world, at all times, must remain calm. Gu Hai's gaze was icy cold as he shook his head and said, Your Excellency insulted my Dahan. Do you want to declare war on Dahan? Declare war? Just by you? Mucken sneered with a wave of disdain. HMPH. Gu Hai let out a cold snort. Shangguan Trace. You don't have to be like this. This matter, Dahan takes it. Gu Hai comforted. Shangguan Trace's heart warmed. Knowing that this was Gu Hai protecting himself, Gu Hai was using the fate of a country to protect himself, a person who was unwilling to submit. No, Your Majesty, please believe in my subordinate. My subordinate is not taking a risk, but can indeed solve it. Please leave this matter to my subordinate, Shangguan Trace solemnly said. Gu Hai stared at Shangguan Trace for a while. Seeing that Shangguan Trace did not seem to be faking, he finally nodded. Many thanks for your trust, Your Majesty, Shangguan Trace answered. Gu Qin and the other group of ministers looked at Shangguan Trace blankly. It was Meng Tai, who was flying quickly from a distant place, who also revealed a look of bewilderment. However, he saw Shangguan Trace turn his head and slowly walk towards Mao Chen step by step. HMPH, today, if I don't trample this bullshit Imperial Dynasty of yours to the ground, I won't believe Mu. Mu Chen let out a loud shout. Boom. A manic aura reappeared. Above his back, a giant turtle silhouette appeared steeply. A terrifying aura pressed down. A group of courtiers immediately changed their faces furiously, as if they were about to fall to the ground. Mu Chen, wanton. Shangguan Trace steeply glared and drank. HM, you know me, Mu Chen said angrily with cold eyes. Look at my eyes, Shangguan Trace said coldly. Mu Chen immediately looked into Shangguan Trace's eyes, probed his hand, and prepared to grab it. and said in a cold voice, "Little thing, don't know how to die." But halfway through his words, Mao Chen's steeply pupils shrunk. Shangguan traced step by step. The sky full of rain fell on its body, but Shangguan Trace does not care, but glaring at Mao Chen. Mu Chen stared at Shangguan Trace's eyes, saw Shangguan Trace's fierce and unyielding eyes, and suddenly had a jolt of excitement. This eyes, déjà vu. Step by step, Shangguan Trace looks incomparably small, but, in Mu Chen's eyes, that step seems to have the weight of 10,000 pounds. Pounding hard on the heaven and earth, emitting a sound like a war drum. This eyes, the disbelief in Mu Chen's eyes slowly turned into horror, an unmatched shock. How is this possible? Mu Chen said in horror. Buzz. The aura around his body suddenly dispersed, and the dark clouds that filled the sky also suddenly dispersed in general. You are, it's impossible, you are. Mao Chen suddenly turned terrified and shouted, "You are standing so high. Do you want me to worship you?" Shangguan Trace said indifferently. Mu Chen was abruptly jolted. No, genius. Mu Chen fell down with ecstasy in his terror. Unbridled, Shangguan Trace's eyes glared. Mu Chen's words shut up in mid-sentence. "Wait outside the palace," Shangguan Trace said in a cold voice. "Yes," Mu Chen answered. Whew! Mu Chen flew down outside the palace, in quiet waiting. In the distance, Meng Tai looked at the restoration of the clear sky, bewildered. Looking at the distance, just a moment ago was arrogant and domineering powerhouse, suddenly turned as well-behaved as a quail. This Shangguan Trace, what exactly is his origin? Meng Tai's face changed wildly as he said, "Great Han Dynasty. Great Han Dynasty. Your Majesty, where did you recruit this person from?" Meng Tai's heart flipped. Taking a deep breath, twisting his head, Meng Tai flew back. Nowadays, it was better to do his part well. The ancient kin, the ancient sea will be able to set up formations, and what else? But what's in front of us? Who can tell me what the hell is this? How many more perverts are there in the Great Han Dynasty? The whole court is staring at Shangguan Scar with wide eyes at the moment, for Shangguan Trace refused to accept the official. Many people also heart ridicule. This person's stupid. But at this moment, is he stupid, or am I stupid? Shangguan Trace twisted his head, looked towards Gu Hai, and respectfully saluted. "Your Majesty, my subordinate will leave first." HMPH. Gu Hai nodded. Shangguan Trace, however, quickly headed towards the outside of the palace. After all, that Mao Chen was still in the middle of waiting anxiously outside the palace. "Father, this Shangguan Trace, what exactly is his origin?" A complex color flashed in Gukin's eyes. "He will speak when he wants to." "All right, disperse," Gu Hai said indifferently. "Yes," the group of ministers answered.